Yes.
Good evening. Call the regular board meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order Thursday, September 7th, 2017. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Marshall, call the roll, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Malott?
Here.
Mr. Browning?
Here.
Ms. Luce?
Here.
Mr. McCourt?
Here.
Okay, moving to item 4, approve the agenda as presented, and there's an addendum in your attachment, which is pages 7 through 9. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Item 5, the superintendent's report. Mr. North.
I have 2 items for you tonight. One is the update on our technology improvement plan and where we're at after work this summer on the primary building and intermediate building. Dr. Brackenhoff's also here to demonstrate what exactly we can do in these classrooms with the technology improvements. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brackenhoff.
I'm going to move the screen over, so I'm going to move around.
Okay, got it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to block your way. All right, and we'll push it forward.
So I am going to demonstrate some of the things that we have worked on this summer. At the primary building and the intermediate building, we have replaced all of the short throw projectors. This is an example of it. I went into a classroom today and a teacher was on their planning time and they were watching a webinar, an educational video on literacy instruction, but she didn't want to erase her board, so she was using that. The short throw projectors are just that. They're a projector that does it. So if I am standing in front of it, I do block it. And I'm going to show you some other options that we've come up with that we might be investigating in the future. Another teacher in the classroom using it they were doing a practice review for a test, and so he had projected some questions up there, and they were discussing that. And this classroom, you'll see the teacher's monitor is right here. She has Classroom Dojo. You may have heard that. Teachers monitor and give students rewards. The kids see it here on the board. They were really excited that just because I came in and they were so polite that they got some extra points on their board. So again, the short throw projectors are what we have installed in those rooms. One of the options that we're looking at is this example here. This can be mounted on the wall. We have it because we are kind of trying it out. It's an LCD touchscreen, and so as you saw, I was touching the screen. I'll show you a couple other things we use this for. The advantage of this is that the lifespan of this is about 10 years versus the bulbs on projectors, which are about 2-3 years in the classroom, and they're pretty expensive. So we're going to have a couple of teachers try this out. This one stand here, we have the board building, so we have a projector in both of the rooms and can use that when we're running meetings. So I thought since we have you here, I would also show you that teachers can use some of our online text resources. So this is an example, our McGraw-Hill products, and the teacher has a list of things they can use. Hopefully the speed will keep up with it. This one, sorry. Bifocals and standing up close. Cancel that. So students and and teachers have online resources that come with their textbooks that they can use. Basically, their textbook is all online, but there's resources that connect to it. So a student lesson, this one does. So a student might use headphones, and they would be independently able to watch this lesson.
She's on her way.
No way. Heading to the park is definitely faster.
Guys, we need more information.
Hey, what did I miss?
Just talking about Mr. Rodriguez's math problem.
Cameron and Isaiah think they already know the answer.
So an example of just making learning a lot more exciting than doing some problems on the board or on a piece of paper. Teachers can use this as an introduction to a concept, or students can use this at home to review something that they may have done in class. In our science series, we have this, it's called Think Central. It pairs with our textbook. So this would, a teacher would come in and they would have lessons that would be in their basically electronic planner. And through those lessons, they could pick a variety of things. I picked the first grade one. I wanted to make sure we kept it easy. So again, I looked at one, it was trig, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not sure I remember enough of that. So they can use this as an introduction.
Welcome to the lesson, How Can We Measure Temperature? In this lesson, you'll observe and measure the temperature of objects and keep track of your findings.
So this would be a primary level, and again, the teacher can use this to introduce a lesson. It's paced so that they can stop and start it at any time, and it will show them.
If the water in a fish pond is too hot or too cold, the fish will not survive. How can we...
So again, it poses questions. It gives the teacher the option of starting and stopping. So because of the capabilities of either the projectors making an interactive whiteboard or using this LCD, teachers also have so just something as simple, the teacher might have this on their board as they come in, and this has a name of all the students in their class, and if you're here today, you check in, something fun to do. Some of the resources will have lesson plans with them, and then the teachers can use something like this as a review. Kids can come up and actually move things. Again, with our, and I'm not paying attention here, I do know the parts of it, but if I want to check it, uh-oh, not all of them right, so I have to try again. Students can do these on Chromebooks too, so they have access. Students can log into their own accounts on many of these, and the teachers can push some of these out or use it as a whole group instruction. This would be an example of some of the resources. So they could go through a menu of things. They could pick something. Just outside. So you actually get you all the guide. And then using the projector, students can come up. And I pick my color. The projector is not as fast. Okay. There we go. And so students could come up and they can pick their own color. One, make a mistake, you can erase. And they could roll the die again and another. Again, just making learning a little more interactive. If you are a primary teacher, you might do calendar work or morning work. Again, they could take lunch. You could decide if you had lunch from home or today's menu was chicken sandwich and taco, and you just drag your name into the right column for which practices their name recognition. The teacher could have a list of activities already loaded here. So maybe she's going to go to math after that, and can pick with county numbers, and the students again could come up and write. I'm on the eraser, so you've got to remember those things, and kids will remember it. And again, I'm not counting, I'm just writing a number there. So they have many opportunities to interact. So another example, just dragging and dropping things. This one actually will say the word that is connected with it. So this board here, again, acts the same as the projectors and the whiteboards we have, which are a hard surface. This one, portable, so it gives us some options, but it could be mounted on the wall. It has speakers built in, but you can also have external speakers. So as we're making technology improvements, we're also trying to test out future technologies to see, how would these work in the classroom, and can we make our technology dollars go a little bit further. So any questions?
What did you call that again, the board? What was that called?
This is just an interactive display monitor. I mean, it could be an interactive, in the classroom, we call them interactive whiteboards because it could be just a whiteboard, and this projector is connected to the computer, which gives it the interactive capabilities. So they have basically the same thing, either with a touch or with a pen. They can write on the board and jump between either writing and, in like a traditional blackboard, or go to a video or go to a demonstration. So within seconds, the teacher can switch between many different forms of media to teach her lessons. Any other questions? Our teachers are really excited, and as I said last month, primary and intermediate building were the focus for this summer. Next summer, we will focus on Baker and the high school and start changing over some of their outdated equipment. In the meantime, we're trying to keep what they have working. And I have to give kudos to our technology department. We've been without a supervisor for the past month, and Rich and Mike have done an outstanding job just putting out fires everywhere. The beginning of the year is hard to get everything going. It's been put away for 3 months, and so they've done a great job.
Yeah, no question, just a comment. It's interesting to me to see how technology can help our kids and help make learning more fun.
Yes, absolutely.
How many boards do you currently have?
In this particular one, we have 2 because we're just testing this new technology. In the whiteboards with the projectors, we have 1 in every classroom in the primary and intermediate building. So this has replaced the old blackboard or chalkboards. Teachers can't live without their interactive boards now.
So nobody gets to clean erasers anymore?
Nobody gets to clean erasers.
What are you going to do when you get in trouble?
Allergies everywhere, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And we brought this, even though we only have 2 of these, we brought this here tonight because what we wanted to show is what the teachers and the students are able to do in the classrooms with the new technology. And as Sue explained, this is all done on a whiteboard. But this is, we can't portably bring in a whiteboard. So, but we could do the same thing with this device. In October, we'll be updating all the teachers' classroom computers, and we wanted to wait until the teachers return to school so that we can move that information with them there. And then, as I mentioned earlier, what we accomplished this past summer and this fall at the primary and intermediate building will be duplicating at the middle school and high school next summer and next fall. Any other questions?
Just raised a comment, there's just so much stuff available for
So all the sports are in there.
education in there. It's just, I don't know how anybody keeps track of it, because every day something new has come out, so.
Well, it's amazing at the high school how many kids opt to access their textbook online versus carrying a textbook around. No more, I forgot my book at school. school, you've got it.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to carry. A laptop or a Chromebook is a lot lighter than a bag full of textbooks.
I had a question in the back. May I help you?
You said you had 2 of these?
Yes.
Where are they located?
Well, right now, the one we keep in the central office, I don't,
And the other one will be here at the high school. Again, we're trying to test the technology. We'll use this for professional development at the central office, and then the other will be here at the high school. So we'll have a teacher who uses an interactive board, try it. We'll have some other teachers use it. Again, just kind of testing to see how does this compare to the projectors. We know that at this point that long range, these are more cost efficient, but the true test is having them in the classroom and having them be responsive to the needs of teachers and students.
all right. There's no more questions. This is the time of year when our representatives of our senior class are here to make a presentation, and they're here with the senior trip advisors. And at this time, Ms. Zink, I'm going to turn this over to you and all those who are with you to go ahead and make their presentation and see if the board may possibly consider the potential for an outside approval of this trip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks, sweetie.
Thank you.
Do we want to go out and around again?
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here
Are they
tonight.
presenting on
We are
slides?
here representing the class of 2018. My name is Asia Lee, and I'm the class president. With me tonight are the other officers. Dahlia Cool-Sartig, our vice president. Brooke Mullins, our secretary. Okay. Kyle Walker, oh, my bad. Kyle Walker, our treasurer, and our historians, Michaela Kernich and Brandon Peatcraft.
For the past 14 years, it has been a tradition at Fairborn High School for the senior class to take an educational trip to New York City, visiting museums, the Freedom Tower at World Trade Center, and other interesting attractions. While we are in New York, we plan to see the Broadway musical Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We also plan to visit the American Museum of Natural History.
Our class will also be going on a dinner dance cruise on the Hudson and East River that will pass by the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. We will meet up in Times Square to take a group photo in our specially designed senior trip sweatshirts. We plan to leave for New York the evening of Thursday, March 22nd and return Sunday, March 25th. The trip will cost each student $650. This includes transportation to and from New York, as well as transportation in Manhattan, lodging, 3 meals, Broadway show tickets, the river cruise, and other activities.
We will be working with Junior Tours, the company that has been used for the past 12 trips. We have organized multiple fundraisers so everyone will have the chance to go. To the date, we have planned a car wash at AutoZone and a spaghetti dinner at Giovanni's. We are working with local businesses to set up additional fundraisers. We will also be asking the community and local businesses to help donating various items to help offset the cost.
When we travel, we will be divided into families made up of 10 to 12 students. Our senior advisors will be pairing 2 chaperones with each family, ensuring at least 1 chaperone per family has experience traveling on prior senior class trips. Each student will have a buddy that they must be with at all times. Each student will have a buddy. After the students pick their buddy, roommates are assigned and families form. They will then meet with their chaperones for pre-trip planning.
Each family will plan their own itinerary to see all the sights New York has to offer. Families in the past have visited Art Museum, Central Park, and Wall Street. We will have the opportunity to experience various cultures by going to visit Chinatown and Little Italy. By combining individual family tours with whole group activities, we will maximize our experience.
Our class is excited for the possibility of traveling to New York City. We are here tonight to ask for your permission to continue the tradition and represent Fairborn High School and the Fairborn community during our educational class trip to New York City. Thank you.
Any questions from you guys? They look like they're ready to answer
Yes.
questions.
Okay. What are you guys most looking forward to?
It's exhausting.
Yes,
Not
Nicole's
the-
been.
not the bus trip?
Yeah. There's other people in here that have been chaperones, but yeah. I mean, after riding all night on a bus and then being dropped off in the middle of New York and walking all over New York and then do the dinner dance cruise in the evening.
You sound like you have experience.
She does have
it's exhausting.
experience.
Is it true,
But
Miss
they'll have all
Marshall?
kinds of energy. I'm too old for it.
Is it true, Miss Marshall, that all the students have to learn how to do the waltz before the dinner dance?
Yes.
I've heard
Yes,
that.
dance
I've
lessons.
heard that, yeah.
Waltz and foxtrot and rumba?
Yeah, just a comment, watching the pictures that come back during the whole trip the last few years and stuff, to me, is exciting. And it looks like that the groups have had a good time, and obviously they've represented Fairborn well, and I trust this group will do the same thing. I think it's a great thing to see. The one thing that wasn't mentioned was the 9/11 memorial. To me, those pictures that came back last year were awesome pictures of the groups that got to see that. So,
So have fun.
Yeah. Anybody
Yep.
been to New York City before?
Oh, a few
couple.
this year. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody had been last year.
I always like to go and watch you guys depart from the high
Mhm.
school, because everybody seems to be excited, and a lot of smiles and anticipation. I've never seen you come in, nor do I want to, because I'm sure
in the middle of the night.
you're kind of dragging after that week. So I'm glad to support this, really am, and hope you have a great time. And be safe, please.
Yeah. Be safe, follow your leaders and chaperones' instructions, and
Make sure the class after you can go again.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very
have a
much.
good time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
We need a motion.
Oh,
Oh,
Mr. Wilson.
need a motion?
Need a motion.
So moved?
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Luce.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the advisors for taking the group very much.
So
Yeah.
much.
As you're realizing, it's a big
That's right.
job. Okay, we'll move on to recognition of visitors. If anybody wishes to address the board, you may step up to the microphone, state your name and address and purpose for addressing the board. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anyone? No one? Seeing no one, we'll close recognition of visitors. Item 7, approve the minutes of the August 3rd regular meeting, August 24th special meeting, and August 31st special meeting. Be it resolved, since the minutes have been distributed to board members in accordance with legal statute, reading of the minutes be hereby waived, and further such minutes be approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Item 8, treasurer's report.
Thank you.
It's okay. Thanks. Okay, we're going to go over the July 31st, 2017 month-end financials. July is the first month of the new fiscal year, so there's not really a whole lot of excitement in this report. I'm not going to lie. Overall, revenues were not lower. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. Revenues are up about $320,000 higher than the prior fiscal year. I'll correct that for what goes out, but most of the reason for that is we did get a large workers' comp refund from 2016 premium year. That's something a lot of districts got as long as our premium was in line. And we also had our SF-14 payments came in for this is money that we get from other districts for our handicapped pupils where we are not the resident of districts, so the other districts pay us for those students. Overall, we had received 20.86% of the total forecast amount. We are updating the forecast in October. I will be asking the board for a special board meeting in the month of October, towards the end of October. Now seems like a good time to tell you that. So with the changes in state funding, we have a new budget bill that's in place. ODE is not going to update any of the payment reports until October, and because we have our board meeting the first Thursday of every month, I really won't know. I mean, I have a general idea, but nobody really knows until those payment reports come out of what our next 2 years of funding is going to look like from the state. And since it affects about 50% of our general fund revenue, I think it's important that we wait. Our expenses as of July compared to the same time last year were $164,000 higher. That's just normal timing. Nothing exciting there. We had spent 7.21%. Again, we'll be updating this in October. Our fund balance at the end of July was $27.7 million. That seems high. We had $9 million in outstanding encumbrances, so our unencumbered balance was $18 million. It's just beginning of the year, getting all those purchase orders in place. The difference of $3.2 million compared to the same time last year. And this is just a graph of our cash balance compared to the same time last year. Our monthly expenses for salaries and benefits were about $2.2 million. For everything else was about $1 million, for a total of $3.2 million. We had 289 certified employees, including substitutes, and 224 classified employees, including substitutes. And these are the number of employees that we pay. And this is our schedule of investments. There wasn't much change from June. So this is our reconciliation. We reconciled to 0. We can never see that, can we? But we did reconcile to 0. Nothing really too exciting about that either. We had $2,500 in our payroll clearance account at the end of the month. That's all I have. Are there any questions from the board? I don't see all of you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall. We'll move on to item 9, the consent agenda, which is quite a bit shorter this month than it has been, since we've handled several of these items in special board meetings this month. So it only runs through page 3.
We added a few things in the addendum, too.
Yeah, there's a few things on the addendum, but...
We weren't happy how this.
Okay, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any discussion, questions on these items? Okay.
No.
Call the roll.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mrs. Milan?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 10, Treasurer's Office, approve the July financial report, 2018 permanent appropriations, disposal of assets, and a then and now purchase order. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Luce.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad. Discussion, questions?
I just want to mention, we have several items for disposal of fixed assets, some school buses that they're going to be scrapping, and permanent appropriations, we do that every year. They're due by September 30th to the county auditor. And we do have a large then and now purchase order for the city of Fairborn. That's just due to timing. We had a purchase order outstanding, but it crossed fiscal years, so we couldn't keep it open, so that's why we have that.
Okay. Well, it's scrapping some buses and buying some new ones.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 11, gifts and donations. Mr. McCourt?
Oh, okay, great. Always a kind of neat spot in the agenda to thank some people for being so generous in their gifts and donations. But this month, Gerald Budorf, $100 to the athletic department. City of Fairborn staff, school supplies valued at $1,000. Jamie Vest, again, school supplies valued at $500. And Carol Brewer, school supplies valued at $60. Again, you know, as this list is obviously smaller, just getting started, but, you know, you're going to see every month this list is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's because of the generosity of our people here in our community and around. So thank you once again for your contributions.
Yeah, and I know there are many, many other individuals and organizations that have donated just thousands of dollars worth of school supplies to us. So it's, you know, it's not that we're trying to slight anyone. We just don't capture all the names all the time. So to those organizations not listed, again, thank you very much for your generosity. I have a motion?
So moved.
Any other comments?
No.
Oop.
Okay, I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Item 12, new business. Approve the resolution of payment of cell phone reimbursement and out-of-state professional leave. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Luce. I do have a question on the cell phone reimbursement. Are they required to provide evidence of how much it actually costs?
How much they're charging, yes.
So
the reimbursement is up to
$40?
$40, yeah.
But if it's
But they have to substantiate that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we don't pay anything without.
Right.
Don't worry about that.
Any other questions, comments?
Not me.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. We will slot in the addendum here. So it's listed as item 15 on page 7 and runs through page 9. Actually, consent agenda through page 8, and then a second new business on page 9. So, I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any questions? This is for items A and B only.
Right.
Okay.
As clarification.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Okay.
No.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Miss Luce?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on to 15C, approve extra supplemental stipend. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. McCourt. Any discussion, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Miss Luce?
Abstain.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. And item 16, new business, bus route and purchase service contracts. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. I'll second. Any discussions, comments?
Do you
No?
want me to talk about it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
We have to have the board approve all our bus routes. We ended up adding a new bus route. And the purchase service contract is for test prep services. I think you can appreciate how much testing is
Right.
on this district. And
Especially
so,
when you look at the school calendar in
right.
Right.
February,
So these-
March, April, May.
Yeah, these are two former employees that we have on a consulting contract that come in and help the
Right.
curriculum department with
And I
our
know they
testing
both work
services.
hard at
They
it.
do.
Very hard at it,
Yeah.
so we're very lucky to have them.
Well, and with a load of new technology to deal with, too. It's,
Right.
Right.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the roll?
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Miss Luce?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Maud?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay.
Page 4.
Okay. And we'll have board member reports and good of the order. We'll start with Ms. Luce.
Okay. I'd like to make a special thank you to Becky Zink and Kristen Drake for taking over the senior class advisor position. Very much appreciated, and they've got a lot of work ahead of them. We know they'll do a really good job. And I just want to congratulate everybody on a good start to a new year. I think we've hit it off really well, and all the reports back are very positive. I'm just really happy we got off on that foot. So thank you to everybody that's involved in that. Let's have a great year.
Mr. Browning.
Okay. Just a few comments. Opening day, I thought we had another really good opening day meeting, and the introduction of all the new employees of the district, quite a few new ones, and I think it's going to help us a lot. And then also, I thought it was neat, the Employee of the Year for all the various categories. Recognizing the Employee of the Year is always a good thing to do. We were invited to the Weehawk opening, and that was August 18th, and a few of us were able to make it. And it's neat seeing all the future Skyhawk football players when they're in first grade through sixth grade. And they play a different type of football maybe, but it's fun to watch. I've been able to go watch a few of the games and really enjoy that and enjoy what they're being taught. Sweet Corn Festival, you know, the school had a set up there. The Lions worked hard serving the dinners and the corn and everything, but our basketball team was there, and I'll tell you, they worked extremely hard prepping corn for that for many, many hours. And they didn't take much of a break as they were doing it. And the band and music club was there. Same thing, shucking corn and doing the trash. And I've never seen people have so much fun doing trash in my life. They really enjoy going around and picking it up, and they really do a good job at keeping the whole park clean during that. Wanted to comment on the grounds, you know, driving around looking at the buildings. I think our buildings look the best they have in years, including the football stadium. So kudos to the maintenance group, the custodians, everybody that put an effort into keeping our grounds looking nice, because I really do believe they look the best they have for years. So, and to comment on that, related to that is the city paving, especially around the middle school, also made that look so much better in terms of when you drive around the middle school. So thanks to the city, another effort of working together there. So thanks.
And they got it done so fast.
I know.
People were worried about it starting school with it.
Mr. McCourt.
Fall sports, you know, I've had surgery here of late, so it's kind of tough for me to get out like I want to, but I have been able to get out, see a few of the girls' volleyball games and football games and tennis. Watched the tennis match over here the other night, and it really is fun to see the kids get involved, get back in the swing of sports. I know they bust their fanny. I mean, early on, we see kids running the streets of Fairborn, cross-country teams, and so it's always good to see that. I'd like to, a special thanks to Rob Anderson, city manager of City of Fairborn. I don't know if any of you get on Facebook a lot, but he has an update, or seems to have an update quite often as to what's going on in the city. And really, if you don't see it, you need to. And if you're out of touch, that's one place where you can really get up to speed. And I appreciate the city's keeping everybody informed as to what's going on. And it's just nice to see. Custodians, I say this every year, the first crack out of the box, I'd like to get into the buildings before the kids come back, just to see what our custodial staff has done. And man, they make these places shine, both inside and out. So just a big thank you to the custodial staff and the people in charge there. As Jerry Browning mentioned, outside, Gene, with your leadership, with with maintenance and all the maintenance people, I've never seen our schools look so good for a long, long time, I should say. But they do. They look good, and I think it shows, the community, our sense of pride in not only our kids but our schools. And we want our kids to come back to nice buildings and safe buildings. And a few years down the road, we're going to be saying that to brand new, safe, nice new buildings. But it's all looking forward, to what's coming. In our packet tonight, handbooks. A lot of work went into this handbooks, both with the staff, athletics, students, and this is something that through Mark's leadership, we have had in the past. Some things have kind of slid through the cracks, and maybe we haven't covered a lot of things. But I'd just like to thank Mark for really grabbing a hold of this student handbook stuff, and not only that, but a lot of things that he does for us. And he's putting us back on the map, believe me, as far as a lot of things that have not happened in the past. Policies, my God, I've sit through policy meetings for hours, just updating policies, something that hasn't been done for a long, long time. And that's all Mark and Central Office Group, behind that. And we thank you, Mark, for that. New buses, gosh, you go through town, I always look at the buses and try to pick out the new ones. But, at times it's tough to do because all the buses look nice and new and shiny and clean. So I know we have, new buses out there, and it's nice to see. And, just thank Dr. Brackenhoff again for the presentation. This is exciting stuff, and I can't wait to get into the actual buildings and maybe peek in on one of the classrooms and see, the kids actually working on it. So thank you for your help there. And that's all I have.
Mrs. Malad.
That's all?
One of these days, I'm not going to say a thing.
I don't have much to add to that. I am really loving the improvements at Baker, too. Having the overflow cafeteria is great for the kids to have some room to eat, and I am a huge fan of the new setup in the main office. You no longer go in there and go, who do I talk to? It's very clear and outlined about where you're supposed to go and who's in charge. So that's really, really nice. As a parent and as a board member, it's nice to know where you're supposed to be. So that's really all I have. But I echo the sentiments of all the others. Thank you.
I certainly don't have too much to add. I would like to thank the folks for the repairs on the steps leading up to the auditorium in Baker. That's a major, not just an appearance improvement, but a safety improvement as well. So that's and that was done virtually the day before school opened, I think, is when that finished up, because I was there and they still had tape across the front of them. So So thank you for taking those steps. And, also, the Public Education Partners Group that I'm part of is showing a film. It's a documentary film about the impact of charter schools on public education, particularly following New Orleans and Philadelphia, with some touching on the impact of high-stakes testing with schools in Tennessee. That will be Saturday, the 16th, at Abiding Christ Lutheran Church on Dayton Yellow Springs Road. So it's a free event at 6 o'clock in the evening. So if you're interested at all in that, please come by. It's narrated by Matt Damon. It's a very well done film. So I encourage everybody to attend. So that's all I have. So we'll move for adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
No second. I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. We're adjourned. 6:46.